Hey guys, we're so glad that y'all are able to join us at the homeschool conference today. Sorry we couldn't be there live, but I am Tiffany Gaines, and this is my husband, Daniel Gaines.
Hello.
And we are the principal and the head teacher of the Gaines Family Academy, is what our daughter, who is now 21, Abby, named our homeschool when she was in elementary school. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about our story and how we homeschool our children. So our daughter Abby has actually done, she did a year of public school with me in kindergarten. I was a kindergarten teacher in public school once upon a time, and I was teaching, and she did kindergarten that year with me teaching. And then she did a little stint in private school. She had a little bit of private school, private Christian school education. And then we did some homeschool, and then we went back into private school. But then in sixth grade, we finally pulled Abby for homeschool for good. And it was for a really big reason, because we were moving to Tanzania, East Africa, as missionaries. And so we knew that that was going to be our best option at doing school for Abby and keeping her up with where she needed to be here in America. And so I gathered up all of my homeschool tools, all the curriculum I needed, did all the research, and I had all the panic involved. And we took all of our things and we flew 10,000 miles to Tanzania. We basically got her homeschool done in maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. There were a lot of other things that had to be done that were also learning experiences for her. Of course, while she was over there, things were very different. They looked different. They felt different. Chores were different. And then I also had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so they were homeschooled as well, just in different things and in different ways. The Bible is always very important in our family, so we have what we call family Bible time. And during that portion of our life, it looked a lot like a lot of singing of songs. The wise man built his house pretty much every day at our house. And then after the boys had their fill of family Bible time, we would talk a little bit deeper with Abby. However, we were struggling in the friend department, so we tried a little bitty stint in the international school, and it didn't go as well as we hoped. They were a little bit more liberal with their morals than we would hoped. We did get a little friend out of it, but we only did that for a few months. And so through trying all these different methods of schooling, Abby was our guinea pig, unfortunately, but we found that homeschool was definitely the best fit for us. That was what we wanted for our children. We knew that that was the right path for us. And so once we did get home to America, Abby did continue homeschooling there in Bowling Green. We just did some traditional methods with our homeschool with her. I chose different forms of curriculum. We went through some 2 or 3 different ones with me, trying to figure out what her learning style was and what would work best with her. In doing that, I don't feel like she fell behind at all. But we did find the things that worked best for her. We participated in a co-op there in Bowling Green, where she was able to get some of her higher maths and things like that out of the way without me having to relearn all of those. So I think starting with maybe Algebra 2 and geometry, physics and chemistry, she took those things there at the co-op, which was nice for me. I was able to drop her off 1 day a week, and she did that there. They were able to grade her, and it worked out really well. Now, something in high school that I know now that felt terrifying to me when Abby first entered 9th grade was keeping up with grades and a transcript. I have given out Abby's transcript, the copy, the empty copy of it, the blank copy freely. So Amanda has my email. If anybody would like a copy of that, just to show you, this is how that's done, I will send you Abby's, and I will send you a blank one, just so you can see how that needs to be filled out and the different kinds of things you have. You have a whole lot of different options for electives when you homeschool. I mean, just tons of things can be considered an elective. You can actually get on the Department of Education for Kentucky website, and they will give you a whole lot of options that you can do, and you'll be surprised at how many different things you can do. But we were able to get all of that done, and Abby is now a junior in college. And so homeschool has been successful for us. So I know a lot of people worry, whenever they're younger, and they think, I can do this now, but can I do it in high school? And you absolutely can. And I think God has given us the tools that we need, and we have mega more tools that He has provided through people being intelligent enough to form these curriculums. And we have all this use of computer technology. And then we also have really good groups of people that can help us and guide us, and people that have gone before us. But Abby has done really well with homeschool, and my boys are homeschooling now still. They are in 4th and 6th grades, and we are doing that now. But I'm going to let Daniel talk to you a little bit about some of the opportunities that homeschool has provided us with.
Well, a lot of that is because of the great amount of flexibility that is afforded to us in a homeschool type of schedule. With my work, I do a lot of traveling, and for that homeschool flexibility, the family's able to come with me, and that creates opportunities for them to be involved in a lot of service projects, a lot of educational opportunities that they would not have if they were limited by a standard school schedule and limited geographically like that. It's given them the opportunity to be involved in ministering to others. We're free anytime to go anywhere, basically. And that's been amazing for our family. We're not limited by that school calendar. There's a lot you can do when you don't have to do it just according to your local school's calendar. We can choose what subjects we're going to teach and how long we're going to teach them. We can flex those around places that we're going to do. We've done an awful lot of road schooling, which has its own challenges but opportunities that go along with that. And we're planning on doing even more of that in the future. Our children have had the opportunities to experience a lot of real experiences other than those that you could have in a public or even in a private school, because we can spend our entire day outside if we want to, if that's what the schedule calls for that day. Or there have been times we've been on the road and our path has taken us near say some sort of special educational opportunity. For example, one time we were down in Texas, and there was an area nearby where there were actual fossilized dinosaur footprints, and we were able to go and check that out and talk about those things from a creationist standpoint. There's a creationist museum nearby, and there's just things like that we were able to do. It creates just such wonderful learning experiences when we can go to a national park, we can go to one of these beautiful portions of God's nature and use that as an opportunity to learn about creation, learn about ways to praise and honor God, along with learning science about the local flora and fauna or whatever else like that. It's just the world is our classroom. That's maybe one way of putting that.
Absolutely. Likewise with what he said, while we were living in Tanzania, I mean, of course, our children had a wealth of cultural studies while they were there, just living in a different country. We couldn't have done that if we had been tied down to the public schools. Our children were able to participate in children's seminars and ladies' seminars that I taught, and then men's studies that Daniel did. Abby, at one point when she was in 7th or 8th grade, she even took a class on Revelation at the preaching school where Daniel was teaching. He helps direct a preaching school over in Tanzania, and she took that class on Revelation with the college students. That was a fantastic opportunity for her, and she really grew from that. And the kids just being able to go out and teach Bible to other people and watch Mama and Daddy do Bible studies with other people, that was so wonderful for their growth, not just from a educational standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint as well. Something that I love about homeschoolers that I've noticed in many different homeschoolers is they are really able to talk to different people across the ages. They really can run, from talking to someone their age to someone much, much older. I can remember when Daniel was doing some pulpit ministry, the children would walk around and talk to people because we were always there very early. And I can remember one time Josiah getting something and telling me that he had to take that to church to tell one of his friends about it. He had to tell one of his friends. So I, of course, was expecting it to be somebody 6 or 7 years old. No, it wasn't. It was someone quite elderly that was much, much older than him, but he considered that person his friend and was able to very easily just go and sit down by them and have a conversation with them. And I think because homeschoolers are not categorized with peers only all the time, they're able to have more intellectual conversations with people that are many, many ages. So I think that's one thing that is very beneficial about homeschooled children. As Daniel said, you're not limited by the school calendar, but you're also free during your daytime calendar at home. So if you want to, something that always bothered me about Abby in kindergarten was I would have to wake her up. And I know some people are early risers naturally. She was not. And it was always really hard for me to wake that sleeping baby up when she wasn't ready. Her body wasn't ready to get up and go and function yet. Well, homeschooling allows me to let my children wake when their bodies are ready to wake up. Let them have a kind of waking up period in the morning a little bit more slowly and fixing them a warm breakfast without anything being rushed, starting our mornings with God, with our Bible, having a devotional, talking freely about that, and then slowly moving into our school morning without everything feeling quite as rushed. I love that I'm able to teach each of my children to their needs and school skill sets. I have one child that will very easily get up, and if things are moving a little bit more slowly than he would really like for them to be, he will go in there and get a whole lot of his work done on his own. I have another child that he's definitely not going to do that. He doesn't love going in there and doing his math. That is not his favorite thing. He would sit and let me read to him all day long if he had that option. And we do a lot of reading out loud. But math, not his favorite. But I have found that he knows how to do the work. It's just really focusing on the work, keeping his attention on the work. So I can sit with him and I can say, okay, you finished this one, so now let's read this one. And if I read the problem to him, he can do the work very easily. It's just keeping that focus on there. If he was in public school, he would probably fall greatly behind because a teacher with 20 students is not going to be able to give him that kind of attention. And so I'm able to give much better attention one-on-one to each of my boys. And I have a daughter, a special needs daughter, that she has spent the year in public school this year. But we are bringing her home next year. And that was for various reasons. If you're curious about that, you can email me or text me or Facebook message me and ask me about those reasons. But she's coming home next year because of the fact that she does need some very intensive one-on-one. And you can do that much easier. And I know that for a fact because I taught school in a public school. I worked with students. I had students that were way up here and I had students that were right here. And then I had a few that were way down here. And it was much harder to help these students down here keep up. And so when I'm teaching my boys to their needs and their skill sets, I can do just that. I can give one some independent work. Why don't you read for a little while? And then I'm going to work with you on this. And man, that just works so much better. My favorite part of our school day is when we can have just a really slow day We can get our written work done, and then we like to go outside if it's nice enough, or even in the winter, just cuddle up under some blankets on the couch, and we read history aloud every day, and we read Bible aloud every day, and then we have a read aloud book, whatever that book may be. When they were younger, I did more picture books with them, but then we would also do a read aloud, a chapter book then. They just weren't as long as they are now. And so we've been known to spend an hour a day, just reading, just them listening to me read. But something that's really cool about homeschool listening to me read is I don't make them sit still in a desk and just listen to me. Usually Levi is playing with Legos or blocks, and a lot of times, especially when I'm reading the history, I'll look down and I start to suddenly realize he's reenacting whatever I'm talking about. If there's a battle or something going on in history, there's all these wars that you talk about, he'll be reenacting that right there. And so he's really putting his learning into action, and that's something you would never, ever be allowed to do while a teacher is reading in public school. But that is how his brain works, and that's how he is able to better comprehend. Josiah, a lot of time, will get a piece of paper and start drawing whatever I'm talking about, and that helps him to learn as well. Being at home can help in so many ways to round out your child. But those are some of the ways that I'm thankful for.
I guess my very favorite thing about homeschool, though, is in homeschooling our children, we retain the privilege and the responsibility of being the primary influencers over our children. When you send your kids off all day long, even if they're at a good school, even with good teachers and stuff, you still have lost a significant amount of, I guess control is the word, over the influences in their lives. You don't know what the children are going to bring in their lives. You don't know what perspective that the teacher is going to bring. But when you are homeschooling, then you have that primary influence for much longer in your child's life, giving you the opportunity and, like I said before, the responsibility. It's a big responsibility to influence them appropriately and intentionally as they grow. And so we get to teach science by creation and apologetics and giving God the glory for all of those things. We had the opportunity earlier this year in our travels to go to Chicago, and we went to the Field Museum, an incredible museum. There was a great experience for the kids. But there was one floor, almost a whole floor, a huge exhibit that really was dedicated toward teaching evolution. It was almost like an anti-creation museum. It was all laid out for evolution, and we were able to go through that and debunk things as we went, teach it, and really support the creation ideas as we went through that museum that was designed to do just the very opposite. They couldn't do that on a school trip.
And there were lots of kids there that day on school field trips. Lots of kids.
Yeah. So that was a really cool opportunity for us. We get to teach biblical history alongside secular history, which is great for their understanding, their holistic understanding, to figure out when these biblical events happen in the overall timeline of history, how it relates to other world events that are going on at the same time. That's something that I wish I had more growing up.
Yeah. I think when I was growing up, when we were growing up, it was kind of like we had our Bible timeline, and we had our secular history timeline that we learned at school. And it seemed like two separate things to me in my brain, because they weren't taught, together. And so now we can.
And that's something I've been teaching some college classes this year, and have tried to do that some in my Acts of the Apostles class. And that's something my students have even commented on, how much they appreciate seeing the secular history alongside the biblical history and how that fits together. We can do our handwriting from Scripture, including devotionals in our days, having serious Bible studies as well. That's one of the things that about not being confined to the school schedule is sometimes sometimes you get schooling over quickly, but also sometimes it's going later into the evening, and we have some serious Bible study happening at the dinner table. We have it before bed. Those things are part of the day. You can diagram sentences about Jesus for English. Fitting our faith into every aspect of education. Even use Bible characters and word problems for math. Everything can be God-centered, which if you're a Christian, you really want your faith and biblical things integrated into all of your life and as a part of all your discussion. So it's not relegated out into some sort of separate sliver of your life, but it's a part of everything. And just being centered on God and His love for us and His desire for us to go to heaven. And we feel like we're preparing these precious souls that God has entrusted to our care for the world by giving them a strong foundation of faith alongside all the secular learning tools that is going to serve them in their job and their homes, preparing them to be a whole people with faith as an integrated part of their whole life, not just something that's there for Sunday.
In our family, we are big believers in talking about Jesus in our homes every day. And whereas we know that the purpose of this conference is talking about homeschool, and many people are probably very concerned about, your different subjects and how to teach them, and there's big concern there. Like Daniel said, is we try to integrate Jesus in everything that we do, and we believe very strongly that if you miss heaven, you miss everything. And we want our children to grow up and be very good and productive members of society. But the number one thing we want our children to be as Christians, we want them to do everything they do as Christians. And from the time my kids are little bitty to the time they're grown, we sing a song, and I'm going to sing it for you at the risk of sounding silly, but we sing, "If I am a doctor when I grow up, I'll be a Christian doctor and teach others about God." And when they were little, I had all these different little hand puppets, and I'd put my hand in and they'd say, do plumber, do farmer, do daddy or mommy. And every one of them we would sing through that if I am whatever this is, I'll be a Christian, whatever this is, and I'll teach others to serve God. And that's the number one privilege that we have as parents homeschooling our children, is we have the benefit and the responsibility and the privilege to teach our children about God and to help them to know the importance of teaching others about God as well. Having them see the place that God has in our world and in our lives every single day. And super, super important. And we're thankful that we're able to homeschool. We have a lot of adventures in our family, and homeschool really makes that able to happen, I guess.
It fits our lifestyle.
We do have, somewhat of a responsibility that, the country wants to make sure that children are being treated properly and that they are being educated in some way. And I do appreciate that. I don't necessarily want my children educated exactly like everyone else's children are, and I want it under my own supervision, even though I'm thankful that, they're trying to make sure that students are educated. However, for our family, we go all the time. We are always on the go, and our children have learned that school is not a place you go. School is life. School is just the things that you learn along the way. And so we hope that they always kind of keep that mindset. And I think now that we've gotten over the hump of graduating Abby and that she has been successful in college, she'll graduate next year. I think it's not as scary anymore. It doesn't seem very scary at all. It just seems, at the risk of jinxing myself, it sounds easy and fun. Yeah. Thus far it has been, but I'm bringing that baby home next year, and so we'll see if I'm still saying the same thing. There are times that it is really hard, especially when those kids are young and they need help. You've got 3 or 4 that need help with different assignments, and then you may have a baby crying in the background and needing your attention too. And what I want to say to you mamas that are in the depths of that, well, one, I've survived it, so you can do it. You can do this. But 2, it's okay to stop everything you're doing and take those kids outside and let them play, let them run some energy out, put them in some water in the bathtub or something that helps them chill. Put 1 or 2 in there at a time if you need to get some time with the others. But it's okay also to just stop everything and pull them up into your lap or around you and read. Just read to them. Read children's books, read Bible stories. Just let them be with you, near you, hear you, feel you. And there's so much learning that goes on in that situation. And that's not just coming from a mom this time. That's coming from a teacher. I still believe that when I taught in public school, and I did a ton of reading with those kids. It's so very important just for them when they're little to know that you care and you love them. And also, I want you to know that I read out loud to Abby till she went to college. And still, if she's home, whenever I'm doing read alouds with the kids, she'll come in there and listen. All people like to hear things read to them.
Yeah, and there's the opportunity for your kids to learn as they live life along with you and to witness how you live your everyday life for God. And so, it's kind of the Old Testament mindset that your children, you're educating them both secularly and theologically as they're walking beside you, as they're helping you with chores around the house, as they're seeing you do your job, whatever your job is. Seeing all that integrated together, it gives them a balanced perspective. That's something that was said of young Samuel. The very same thing was said of young Jesus, and that's something that I pray with my kids every night, is that they would grow in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. That's a balanced type of growth. And as parents, we want to be a part of that whole balance, and helping our kids to have those opportunities. And homeschooling is a great way that has provided us, we feel like, the opportunity to contribute to that as much as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. I think that if Abby were here, she would say that she enjoyed her time homeschooling. I think she wishes she would have had a sibling more her age, but I think she does feel like that she does fine in school, that she definitely got the academics that she needed, and that she's able to have friends and socialize, which is something that people are constantly worried about. But sometimes as homeschoolers, I feel like we're out and about socializing so much that I struggle to get our everyday work in, because we're on the go a lot. But as Daniel said, the primary thing that we want to do with our family is raise our children to love Jesus, and to get to heaven. And we feel like homeschooling is the best way to do that. So we appreciate you guys listening to us. If you have any questions, I would be happy for Amanda to give you my email, and you can send those to me, and I'm happy to answer individual questions if you have them. I've probably been there and done that. And the length of time that I have been homeschooling, I definitely don't know it all, but if I have anything that I can share, it is yours. So thank you. We appreciate you listening to us, and we hope the rest of the conference is fantastic.
Hang in there, guys.
Hang in there.